Samantha Bee has something figured out. Say what you will about her, but somehow, some way, she's a survivor. Despite consistently declining ratings for her TBS late-night show Full Frontal, despite the consequent difficulty of attracting and maintaining advertisers, her show keeps getting renewed. Somehow she bucks the trend of the Chelsea Handlers and the Sarah Silvermans and the Michelle Wolfs, all of whose networks eventually succumbed to market reality and stopped trying to force Americans to believe that these harpies with left-wing political lectures in place of what is supposed to be comedy are actually funny or entertaining. So maybe she doesn't actually buck the trend in terms of viewership. It's just that for whatever reason, she's uniquely good at convincing corporate money to prop up her poorly argued, politically partisan, unfunny takes, despite the market reality of minimal and declining viewer interest. And that's fine, actually. Whatever you have to do to survive. I can't blame you for hanging on. But I can blame you for using your politically partisan, big money finance, terrible arguments that nobody buys to go after others for supposedly making politically partisan, big money finance, terrible arguments that nobody buys. If it's okay for you to do this, Samantha, I'm not inclined to listen to you lecture others for doing the same. But of course, this isn't Samantha Bee's first hypocritical, self-righteous rodeo. This is the lady who attacks Trump's supposed sexual abuse cases by fawning over this accused sexual abuser.
Are you going to lead us out of the darkness?
With great power comes great responsibility.
Oh my God, he's
Schneiderman, does whatever a Schneider can. Only he can save us all.
Half a year after this segment aired, that guy resigned after he was accused of hitting, choking, and threatening 4 women during bizarre sexual encounters. This is the lady who lectures us about mean verbal attacks on women, but has no hesitation attacking the women she deems unworthy of the same courtesy.
Let me just say, one mother to another, do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless c***.
Sam's perpetual quest for the hypocrisy throne continued on Wednesday night with an attack on PragerU, and there are layers of frustration here. First, the fact that she herself is guilty of every accusation she makes against Prager, and second, that she never actually makes an argument in any of her criticism. She just plays a series of quickly cut out of context statements that are supposed to be self-evidently wrong, and then a laugh track tells you this is funny for some reason, but she never actually does the work of explaining the philosophical flaws of any of the Prager segments she's ripping. She actually frames the attack by doing exactly this against Fox News.
If you've ever watched Fox News, it's easy to think that all conservative media has a very specific energy.
You might need an AR-15 with 30 rounds to defend your family if 50 Antifa thugs show up at your house with your small children.
Border Patrol officials calling it a dire situation as waves of illegal immigrants flood across the southern border.
Most swimmers taking a dip on the shores of Cape Cod are treading lightly. They even dare go in.
It's going to be another shocky summer.
But while Fox continues its lifelong quest to scare your grandparents into hoarding Franklin Mint coins, one growing conservative outlet is using colorful graphics and social media to appeal to a new generation.
Wow, so you have a full staff of writers and researchers and other general support, and these are the best supposed scare tactic Fox News clips you can find. These are all real news stories. Antifa and other left-wing groups have adopted the tactic of showing up at people's homes in threatening fashion, from media figures like Andy Ngo and Tucker Carlson to politicians like Mitch McConnell. It wasn't Fox News telling us the border was at a crisis point. That was Border Patrol telling us their detention centers are full, a fact reported by countless media outlets beyond Fox. It wasn't Fox News making up a story about great whites in Cape Cod. There were, in fact, abnormally numerous sightings there this summer, reported by many different outlets, because this was news, not made-up doomsdayism. And besides, I'm surprised you didn't take the opportunity to link this reality to your own doomsday Greta praise.
She's just a girl standing in front of a group of world leaders, asking them to do something before the whole planet melts and we all die.
When other people do it, it's bad. When Sam does it, it's good. That's the TLDR of this entire segment. But Sam's going to try to convince you with some context-free Prager clips.
But don't worry, their videos are very normal.
Murder. Is murder wrong? How do you know?
Liberals, the research tells us, are generally more outgoing, more likely to try new stuff. They're open to new ideas, though not school choice or flat taxes or a market-based healthcare reform.
I want fairness generally means, look at me, I'm a nice person.
The left is destroying the Boy Scouts. The power of the visual to excite men has no analog in women.
Oh, honey, no, that's not women. That's just you.
I get it. He's sexually unappealing. Unlike famous spank bank teller Samantha Bee. I'd say even out of context, there's nothing about these clips that is supposedly abnormal, as she frames it, but in context, they are all thoughtful, interesting monologues. Dennis Prager discusses objective morality, explaining his view that without God, there is no such thing. Greg Gutfeld makes his case about the merits of conservative philosophy. Daniel Hannan explains why the progressive buzzword of fairness really has no philosophical basis or consistency. It's just used to leverage moral superiority over opposition. In the context of the Boy Scouts, Prager is discussing the leftist tendency to take things over rather than build something new.
They're not even the Boy Scouts anymore. They're just the Scouts. The left forced them to admit girls. Here's the thing about the left. It only destroys. It doesn't build. The Boy Scouts have helped shape tens of millions of boys into independent, strong, good men. So where's the left-wing version of the Boy Scouts? It doesn't exist. There is none.
And the discussion about men's visual attraction that isn't the same for women is part of a broader discussion about relationship challenges. Agree or disagree, sure, but all of these monologues are about high-level philosophical concepts with broad implications for how our lives and society are organized. And we don't get any sort of high-level response about why these ideas are wrong. We just get an unearned laugh track in place of any argument.
The clips you just saw are made by a conservative media outlet called PragerU, which itself is short for Prager University, as in their own website saying, Prager University is not an accredited academic institution, but it is a place where you are free to learn. That literally describes every place.
Ooh, it's called PragerU, but it's not a real university. Well, if it says that on his website, that's not Prager being deceptive, now is it? That's Prager being totally honest. Not everything is literal, Samantha, in the same way your show involves absolutely no full frontal nudity. What sort of false advertising is this? It's actually no full frontal with Samantha Bee, and thank God. The quickest way to sink this show's ratings even lower is to have this lady start showing some skin.
PragerU is actually a massively successful part of a growing hub of the online right-wing media machine. They have been funded by GOP mega donors, and their videos are specifically aimed at middle school and high school children. PragerU gets those views the same way a lot of YouTube channels do, by producing short, fun videos that are mostly hosted by the worst people.
Are you an activist? Yes, 4-year-olds. Also, what is this supposed to be about? Transgender rights, the baby's not choosing their own gender. The indoctrination does not just start in college, it does not just start in high school, it starts when kids are 4 to 8 years old.
That's bad, but the worst part is that he thinks this baby board book is for 8-year-olds.
Oh yeah, hilarious. His description of the intended audience age is just slightly off. You really got him, but whether it's the political indoctrination of infants or 8-year-olds, isn't the point he's making totally aligned with yours, Samantha? He's saying it is wrong to indoctrinate children with a political ideology. That's the same argument you just made against PragerU only a minute ago. Despite no evidence in any of their marketing that their videos are meant for children, you just used left-wing smear pieces to infer that. Oh, no. It's only when they indoctrinate children that it's wrong. When people I like do it, it's totally fine. Just like it's wrong for PragerU to accept donations from rich people. But it's totally fine for me to float my show atop an ocean of corporate cash. PragerU is not uniquely funded by big money donors. 40% of its approximate $6 million operating budget is paid for by small donations, supporting a staff of only about 20 people. Samantha Bee's operating budget is funded by one giant corporate contribution, and I guarantee it's in excess of $6 million, and it's supporting a staff larger than 20.
Prager's belief system extends beyond traditional Judeo-Christian values. He also has a ton of weird other beliefs.
I promise you, one day you will say, first they came after conservatives, and I said nothing. And then they came after me, and there was no one left to speak up for me. To the left, the primary purpose of art, sculpture, and music is to shock. That's why so much contemporary art is meaningless and involves the scatological, meaning urine and feces. Yes, urine and feces.
How dare you? We also do plenty of jokes about boners.
Well, right about now would be a great time to make one. A boner joke not only might add an actual laugh to this tiresome piece of alleged comedy, but it would probably make a better sincere argument too. Why did you cut the Prager clip right before he offers evidence to support his point?
To give one of countless examples, in 2016, the Guggenheim Museum in New York featured a pure gold working toilet, which visitors were invited to use. The name of the exhibit was America, so one could literally relieve oneself on America.
Yes, that is a real thing, and yes, this edgy museum even offered the toilet to Trump as a gag gift. They really got that bad orange man.
Yet as bonkers as Dennis Prager and his fake-ass university may be, they are convincing a whole generation that your wife should have sex with you even if you look like someone who started serial killing after retirement. PragerU is actually dangerous. They're reaching a new, younger audience with bullshit conservative propaganda. They trick kids into thinking their videos are educational, even though PragerU is as much of a real college as Monsters University. If your aim is just to scare people, at least one of them offers you an actual diploma.
What a contradictory mess. Premise 1, it's wrong to scare people as a persuasion tactic. Premise 2, PragerU is an actually dangerous propaganda factory that we have to stop for the sake of the children. Pick one, Samantha. Because if fear-mongering is wrong, then your entire piece is wrong. The only argument you offer is, ooh, those are some scary bad people over there. Don't look at those scary bad people. Stay away from those scary, scary bad people. That's not an argument, and it's also self-defeating. It reinforces Prager's point about censorship. You called it crazy, but then immediately demonstrated your own hostility and intolerance for views that differ from your own, thus validating his concern and making it not crazy at all. You're telling people to stay away from Prager's material, not view it and think for themselves, all while you hypocritically and ironically accuse Prager of discouraging free thought. And just practically speaking, your case is counterproductive. Your effort to discourage people from viewing this material has only increased the people viewing this material, since you called it crazy and extreme, but you didn't bother to explain why. That leaves it up to us to evaluate for ourselves. And when we do that, when we actually go look at these videos and we realize they aren't crazy and they aren't extreme, they're actually thoughtful and philosophically based, PragerU gains another small piece of intellectual and financial support. As of this writing, PragerU has raised almost $40,000 off Sam's attack alone, a number that is sure to climb over the weekend. Make it a fundraiser for a Dennis Prager-Sam B debate, and you'll see those numbers climb even higher. But wishful thinking, not just because it'd require Sam B to be intellectually honest for just a minute, but because it'd require her to make an actual argument too. Saying, haha, this guy looks like a murderer rapist persuades nobody, especially when choosing between a night out with an actual murderer rapist or Samantha B would be a legitimately tough call. And that's why your claims of tricky propaganda or shady financial support or whatever ulterior explanation X, Y, or Z for why Dennis Prager is kicking your ass, Samantha, fall flat. Prager is making an argument. You aren't. Nobody's been tricked. Nobody's been bought off. Until you actually explain why he's wrong, none of us have been duped into the assumption that you can't. You have demonstrated that yourself, and that's nobody's fault but your own. Thanks as always for listening and for supporting this channel. Always appreciate that thoughtful discussion down below, and especially over on Twitter. That is at ML Christiansen. You're always welcome to coming out and chat in my live streams. Those are linked down in the description. Looking forward to it. Goodbye.